Hey friends, and welcome to today's online message for Freejam kids. And what a great day it is. We're learning all about loving your neighbor this month. So what that means, who are our neighbors, what it looks like to practically love them in our day-to-day lives. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard of loving your neighbor? What do you think that means? Is that the people who live next door to you? The disciples of Jesus had some questions on who their neighbors were too, and as usual, Jesus had an answer for them. Before you listen to our story, remember, it's important that we don't just say we love people, but we truly live like it. Let's see what Jesus says about loving our neighbor. So, Luke 10:25-28, and behold, a lawyer stood up to put him to the test, saying, "Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life?" He said to him, "What is written in the law? How do you read it?" And he answered, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." And he said to him, "You have answered correctly. Do this, and you will live." So what does it say we must do to inherit eternal life? And what is eternal life? Well, this is life with Jesus in heaven, life that has no end, a life without death. And Jesus said to inherit or to get this gift of eternal life, we must love God with all our heart, soul, strength, and mind. But then it also says to love your neighbor as yourself. And so then this leads us to ask, who is our neighbor? Good guesses. Let's see what Jesus says. Luke 10:29-37, but he, desiring to justify himself, said to Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" Jesus replied, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell among robbers, who stripped him and beat him and departed, leaving him half dead. Now by chance a priest was going down that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So likewise a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he journeyed, came to where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion. He went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. And then he set him on his own animal and brought him to an inn and took care of him. And the next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper, saying, 'Take care of him, and whatever more you spend, I will repay you when I come back.' Which of these 3 do you think proved to be a neighbor to the man who fell among the robbers?" He said, "The one who showed him mercy." And Jesus said to him, "You go and do likewise." So in this parable that Jesus shared, what happened to the man on his way to Jericho? He was robbed, attacked, beaten, and left for dead. And who, boys and girls, did Jesus say passed by him? There was a priest and a Levite, people who should have stopped. People you would have thought would have stopped, right? But they literally pretended he wasn't there and walked on the other side of the road. Rude, right? So, who did stop to take care of him? A Samaritan, a stranger. The Samaritan, he took care of the man's wounds, put him on his own donkey, and paid for him to stay at an inn and took care of him. He paid someone to look after him, and he came back to check on him. The Samaritan in the story was significant because Samaritans and Jews were not known for getting along. In fact, they despised each other. And yet, which one acted like a true neighbor to this Jewish man? The stranger, the Samaritan, who he might have called an enemy. He was the one who had mercy on him. Were you confused when the priest and the Levite didn't stop to help the man on the road? You'd think a priest would stop to help, right? But it shows that they didn't have true love in their hearts, because loving people isn't something we say, it's something we do. Jesus gave us an awesome example of what it looks like to love our neighbor. Our neighbors can be our next door neighbors, our classmates, teachers, even our families, anyone we come across in our lives. Now, we need to be careful with strangers. When you show someone kindness, that's a stranger, you always need to make sure you have an adult with you and you have permission to do that act of kindness. Because Jesus wants you to stay safe too. But whether they are a stranger or not, remember to act like the Good Samaritan. Be a neighbor, show mercy and love and kindness. Remember our memory verse, 1 John 3:18. Dear children, let's not merely say that we love each other. Let us show the truth by our actions. This week, let's think of who our neighbors are and how we can show them love. I love you guys and pray you have a great week. See you later.